The main thing people have issues with when they do lifting alongside jiu-jitsu is sometimes their lifting starts to impede their jiu-jitsu, and it actually starts to have a negative impact on the system overall as the week progresses. And as the months progress, very easy to start letting the lifting slide down the priority list. In this video, like I said, I'm going to give you rules and concepts to follow, but I'm also going to talk about the exercises because there is two ways of looking at this, right? You've got the emotional exercise selection and you've got the logical exercise selection. Now, if I was extremely robotic, I could easily tell you the best exercises to do amongst different joints of the body, different body parts to serve us for our longevity within the martial art. However, again, I respect you as an individual, and if you were to do the best in class exercises, but them exercises you couldn't stand doing, then what's the point in me telling you that? So most of what I do on this channel is logical. However, I do have a little bit of respect for our emotional needs as well. Similar to when I talk about food. If I don't give you food choices that you prefer to eat, what's the point? You're just not going to do it for long enough to receive any of the benefits. Anyway, that is the video. For those that are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Paul Green. I am a former British paratrooper and Special Forces support group operator. Over my time in the army, I've trained thousands of elite soldiers, people from all around the world. And now I've left the army. I coach grapplers in deleting injuries and building physical resilience. So all I do on this channel is talk about what I've learned through that whole journey and just package it to you so you don't have to navigate the crap. Because let's be honest, the industry is information overload. Everything's complicated. There's lots of fear mongering, and you don't get any of that on this channel. I want to build your confidence in being able to do more valuable stuff. Simple as that. Right, so the topic of today is, what is the best program? Straight off the bat, it is the program in which you can stick to for the longest period of time. And I know you probably didn't want to hear that, you wanted to read exercises. However, there is a caveat to me saying that. And it's a very important caveat to make. If the exercises in which you are doing are not that good, like literally bang average or worse than average, then you probably want to make a significant change in these exercise selections. And what I will say before I just completely stop talking about this, because I could talk about this subject for hours, is if you're choosing to do like yoga or Pilates or kettlebells, for example, you're doing these things because they're enjoyable, they make you feel good. On this channel, all I'm interested in is physical results, right? And I know there's people that are probably going to say, yeah, but I've got really good results from kettlebells and I've got really good results from yoga. The reason I'm so passionate about the most effective ways to train is because when I was in the army, when I was a physical training instructor in the parachute regiment, I didn't have a lot of time with these soldiers. And do you think I had the time to do kettlebell stuff? Everything that we did had to move the needle for them physically. We had to build their physical foundation and build resilience, because when they're in the harshest possible environments, potentially risk to life situations, we couldn't afford to leave anything off the table, any stone unturned, and that's exactly what you get here, right? So, if you choose certain training modalities because they make you feel good, then that's great, right? That's what I'll say, it's great. However, you must acknowledge the fact that you do them because they make you feel good. Now, fortunately for us grapplers, we do jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu makes us feel great. So we can easily say jiu-jitsu ticks that feel-good factor, right? Now, off the mats, we probably want to start thinking about the logical things that are going to support the amount of years, the amount of effective years that we can do in jiu-jitsu, right? So on that, the main problem people run into when they're doing weightlifting for jiu-jitsu is the amount of stuff they are doing, right? And I could easily say a few different layers to this. Number one, the amount of sessions that they're doing in a week. So that's the first variable. Number two is the amount of exercises you're doing in one session. And number three, the amount of sets you are doing per exercise. So there's a lot of variables there, right? And straight off the bat, when I work with blokes, a lot of the blokes I work with in my program are over the age of 40, over the age of 50, people that have struggled with injuries for years. And the first thing I'm doing is, how many times can you train? And most of the time they're going 4 sessions per week. I can do 5 sessions per week. And I'm looking at them thinking, nah, mate, if jiu-jitsu is the priority, let's have it a logical priority. So let's make sure the weightlifting never gets close to the amount of jiu-jitsu sessions in which we're doing. I will often start people on 2 weightlifting sessions per week and allow their body to fully recover from them sessions before I then consider adding in a 3rd session, right? So 2 sessions per week is an unbelievable starting point for a beginner lifter and somebody that wants to get this right so they can have a really long run-in of progression, right? Because every bit of strength gained equals more muscle mass added to your frame. Every bit of strength gained equals an increase in your jiu-jitsu performance. Even though you might not think that doing bench press actually improves your jiu-jitsu, it does. It improves your body's ability to absorb force and push force away from you. You're navigating another human being. There's no secret. So that's variable number 1, and I always recommend that you always err on the side of caution. Be conservative with this, because you're watching this video, and if you're watching this video, you have ambitions to make some significant improvements, and it might sound counterintuitive to reduce the amount of training that you are doing. However, the very important caveat to this is we're reducing it, but we're improving the quality of that training so we can receive all the fruits from this. And like I say, my opinion on this is just through doing this with people and not having a lot of time with them, literally having to have the most possible impact. And the way we get into that is by our exercise selection. There is some staples that should definitely be involved in any program. You've got the most important exercise, I believe, is a back squat, right? And now if you don't have the mobility to do a back squat all the way down, then make sure you're doing a variation of a back squat that allows you to go all the way down, right? But one thing I like to program with my guys is a heels elevated squat so they can go all the way down, or a variation of a squat on a Smith machine that allows a full knee bend, because what joint starts to feel the effects of jiu-jitsu the most on the mats after the age of 30, after the age of 40, after the age of... Usually, from my experience anyway, it's the knees, right? And it's about doing the stuff off the mats that ensures that just doesn't happen in your life. It's the whole point of this channel. So a back squat or a variation of a back squat. However, the most important thing is that you're doing a variation that you as an individual enjoy. Think about this. I'll use a different analogy. If I told you to eat something that you didn't enjoy, you wouldn't eat it. You get bored of it after a couple of weeks. So make sure that when you rock up to a low body session or you rock up to a full body session and the first exercise is that squat variation that you actually you actually really enjoy doing. It sounds so simple, right? So you can be logical, but a little bit of emotional flavor on each of your exercises. Hopefully that makes sense, right? I'm not going to get into exercise selection. I can literally give you a full body workout just off the bat now. So a back squat, straight away, a back squat, a deadlift, or a deadlift variation. Actually, no, you know what? I'll change that, right? 2 full body sessions. You've got a quad dominant full body session, and you've got a hamstring dominant full body session. So we'll go full body 1, full body 2. Full body 1, back squat. We have got a leg extension, right? 2 exercises, 2 sets on each exercise, right? Chest, we've got flat bench, incline dumbbells, 2 sets. Lat pull down, vertical pull, horizontal pull, 2 sets of each. And then finish, 3 sets of elbow armour, supersetted with, so bicep curls into skull crushers, right? For most people, if you're training full body and you have, the only way this works is if you're willing to put in maximum effort into each working set. Maximum effort from heavy weight lifted. This is the only way you can walk into the gym and do a 45-minute session like I've just explained there. Put it in, get out and receive all the benefits from this, because you're not doing pointless volume. Now, you probably watch this video thinking, I do way more sets, way more reps, and I'm in the gym for about an hour and a half. And I'm just telling you, right, there is ways, and I'm a perfect example of proof of this, that you can just half the amount of time you're in the gym and improve the quality and get more results from it. I use a concept called stay angry, right? And because at the last half an hour, let's say you're doing an hour and a half, 2-hour session, are you absolutely furious? Have you got that aggression for the end of your session, for the last half an hour? When you're doing 5 sets of 5, or you're doing German volume training, 10 sets of this and then 10 sets of that, do you still have the aggression at the end of the session? And what I like to do is I like to leave the gym with a little bit of aggression. So then we have that foresight on our next training session, which is, let's say, full body 2, hamstring dominant, where we start with a deadlift, and then we do leg curls, and then we just fill the gaps. So instead of a flat bench, we'll do flat dumbbells, then we'll do an incline chest press machine, and then we'll do a close grip vertical pull, and then we could do wide grip. So your variables are, you've got your squat, you've got your hinge, and then you've got your vertical pull, you've got your horizontal press, and you've got your horizontal pull, and then we've got a little bit of arms as well to finish things off. So the exercise selection, I'm not really talking about exercise selection, right? The most important thing is that I'm telling you, the most important and the best program for jiu-jitsu is the one that you can stick to without changing for the longest possible time frame. And that is where most people are getting it wrong, because they are either sticking to the wrong thing, i.e. doing a different CrossFit workout every day. They're doing a high rocks workout. They're doing bodybuilder training where you train chest on a Monday, back on a Wednesday, shoulders on a Thursday, a little bit of legs, but sometimes legs get skipped because, you know, who likes training legs? My knees are fucked. This way you get 2 opportunities to just send it on, you know, all the major joints of the body, all the major muscles of the body. And where we actually, the gym and these weight training sessions create the damage, right? But the most important thing is that your body has the ability to recover from this. And that's why you've got to basically be humble in this approach, and you cram it down to the most impactful exercises, the most impactful exercise execution. So you don't get to do this if you're just doing warm-up sets, by the way. You have to be putting the effort in. So that is literally the only caveat to this. How many people do you know that like go to the gym and they're literally like looking around mid-set, and the only time that they're uncomfortable is when the set like it's probably the last set, the last rep. They're like, your first rep wants to look like most people's last rep. I'm being genuinely serious. It's the only way you can get in the gym, do more productive work than most people in there, get out the gym in less time. It's not, and one thing I will say with this, by the way, your rest periods are still very important. Like don't literally think, oh my God, Paul Green's telling me to train really hard. He's telling me to do 2 sets per X. Don't, make sure that you are having a good amount of rest. And again, a lot of people will tell you, you have to do this exercise. Listen, I'm telling you the rules to follow. And I'm telling you that you should train these sets insanely hard from heavy weight lifted. Your first rep wants to make you feel like shit. Your last rep wants to be like, I couldn't have done another rep there. And the only way you find out whether you couldn't have done another rep is by actually trying to do another rep. And if you can't, then you know you've done your best. When you do your best on a set, it feels fucking great. And then you only have to do that twice. And then you move on to the next exercise. So you can stay angry. And the session is so productive, right? And you probably understand now how productive this would be. If every time you're in the gym, you're training to this level of quality, the benefits are just absolutely insane. So you've got your full body 1, you've got your full body 2. Make sure you space them days out decently. But when I get to the emotional side of it, most of what I talk about on this channel is logical, right? But I understand we're humans. We like a little bit of enjoyment. So all I would say is just make sure that the needle movers, whether it's your Vertical pull if you prefer pull-ups, if you really enjoy pull-ups and you really see yourself wanting to do 40 kilogram weight pull-up, make sure pull-ups are in there instead of a lat pull down. So you make the tweaks, but the roots are logical. Do you know what I mean? So I hope you can take a lot away from that. And in a nutshell, you probably came here for the best workout ever. And my program's called the longevity program. It's all about your longevity with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So the way I program for you is based off the data, right? The most injured joints in Jiu-Jitsu. However, it's programmed on your current biggest issues. So if you come at me and you say, look, Paul, I've got a knee injury, I've had a shoulder injury, my back's fucked, I'm going to program around them issues to make sure we address them issues. However, for most people, I'll say straight off the bat, shoulders, knees, they're the most common issues. So you want to basically make sure that they are basically getting trained to a really good standard as a priority until them issues are gone. And then you can start to focus on other areas that you really want to develop. So that's it from me. Hopefully you can take a lot away from that. But just to literally summarize it up, the best program is the one that you can stick to without changing for the longest possible time frame. If in doubt, reduce the amount of weight training sessions down to 1 or 2 really high quality sessions. Number 3, what I mean by high quality is high intensity from heavy weight lifted in between 6 to 10 repetitions. You do not get to go into the gym and spin the wheels like most people do and get the fruits of these concepts in which I'm saying. Intensity, raw intensity, staying angry is literally the only way you get the chance to do this. Number 3, you can play with variables such as the amount of exercises that you're doing per muscle group. So in that example there, I mentioned 2 per muscle group. You can do 3, but again, remember, err on the side of caution to start with. Just do 2 and absolutely send it because you're probably not used to training like this. The next variable you have to play with is how many sets per exercise. And like I said before, err on the side of caution. Just do 2. And in the future, you can always be like, right, okay, I feel good now. I'm benefiting my jiu-jitsu. I'm benefiting my strength. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a set onto each exercise, because at that point, your body will be able to receive that level of stress and develop from it. So you've got plenty of variables, plenty of rules and concepts to play with, right? But the most important thing is make sure most of your program is logical with a little bit of an emotional exercise selection. Don't do it the other way around. The other way around is picking exercises that are emotional, that make you feel good, that don't get physical results, i.e. kettlebells, yoga, Pilates, circuit training, high rocks, CrossFit, all these jack of all trades options that are jazzed up as being functional. They're not. They're just built for people that like to feel good rather than get physical results.